I'm here with Toni Lipsey today of TL Yarn Craft. So excited to have you here today and just chat with you. You're someone that I've known. I feel like I've known you like since the beginning. I was just kind of looking back since like 2018, I think.
Yeah, it's been a long while. We go way back, girlfriend.
Yeah, we do. I know, man. I'm so glad to have you on. You are like, there's probably 5 people that I honestly follow in the yarn world that I just enjoy.
Yeah.
Like you're on the top of that list. I'm not even kidding.
So
like honestly,
gotta make me blush. We just started, girl. Come on now.
I start strong.
No, I really appreciate that. It really, really does mean a lot. Like I know we've been at it for such a long time, and I've always admired what you do and the impact that you make on this community. So I'm grateful to be on your radar.
I really feel like the things that you're doing are so fresh and new and different. And I just honestly feel like all the things that you're doing are just coming from your heart. They're just things that you want to share with people. And I have chill bumps just a little bit, even saying that. I'm not kidding, because there have been times in the past where I'm like, man, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. And I've reached out to you, and you've just been such a beacon. Like, honestly.
Oh, that means a lot. I've got folks in my life that are that as well, because surprisingly enough, I mean, we all have the same artist brain, right? Some days you're like clicking on all cylinders, everything's going great, the ideas are flowing like water, and then some days it's like, I don't even want to look at yarn, So it's nice to have those folks in your circle to just kind of remind you, like, you do enjoy this, you're good at it, you want to keep going.
I don't know.
Yeah. So thank you. That really means a lot. Really does.
No, you have such a confidence, and I feel like you really see things for what they are. And so there's such a truth in what you do that, that's why I'm like, you're a beacon. You really are. Like I just put it on a t-shirt. No. I said this before and I still believe it. I don't think you need an introduction. I feel like you need no introduction. However, here's the script. Since turning your crochet passion into a career over a decade ago, you've built a catalog of crochet knowledge that includes hundreds of beginner-friendly patterns and easy-to-follow video tutorials. You draw your inspiration from the desire to immerse yourself in a cozy life that is bursting with color. Of course, we see that in your background. Like,
I'm working on it. I'm following the mission,
I'm doing it backwards. Like, what you see is like gray and bland, because I'm looking at the colorful side of my own.
Oh, you need it in front
you guys
of
get
you.
This.
Smart.
No, you guys get this. I'm looking at the inspiration all day. So your current obsessions are temperature blankets, Tunisian crochet, anything granny squares.
Absolutely.
And when you're not crocheting, you are cuddled up with your husband and the fur babies, Sheba and Pepper, and watching true crime thrillers, of course. Your book, I have it right here, like it is arm's reach, your Tunisian book.
Wow.
The Tunisian Crochet Handbook. Look at me.
It's right there.
I didn't have to look. I was like, it's right here. Here it is. I pre-ordered. I got a signed copy. Yeah, I did.
No, I love you, girl. Of course you're going to have a copy. Come on now.
So now that's kind of the, the nuts and bolts of who you are, I'd love to hear from you. Who is Toni? Introduce yourself.
Sure. So I'm Toni, like Salena said, owner, designer, creative person behind TL Yarn Crafts. Kind of kicked things off back in 2013 as like a little side hustle, a little way to keep myself busy in the evenings. And, I'm sure my story isn't too unique. You start out with it being one thing and you just kind of follow that thread and let it become whatever it is. I've always said that I just kind of rode the wave to where I am right now, just kind of let the inspiration flow, let life kind of decide what was going to be the next step for me. Because funny enough, I don't know if you know this, but I went to school to become a dentist. Like that was my dream. That is what I wanted to do since I was a kid. But then I took my first chemistry course and I had to make some changes. I had to reassess. So I ended up graduating with my undergrad in psychology and my grad degree in nonprofit management. And I went into nonprofit as a career, but in the process of looking for that first job out of college, it's like 2010, and I could not find work. So I took up crochet as kind of a hobby after like trying a few different things, and it just clicked because I'd actually crocheted earlier in life. As a kid, my mom had taught me to make a granny square, and I'd made one granny square blanket back when I was a teenager. But somewhere those moments and that skill was like dormant, and it just woke right back up. And I kind of haven't put down a crochet hook since. So, what started off of selling things at craft shows and, teaching at my local yarn store has now become, writing my own book and releasing my own line of yarn, having well over 200 published patterns, teaching at yarn shops across the country. Like, it's been a whirlwind, and I feel like I'm on a roller coaster with my hands up. Like, where are we going next? It's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, well, I found out some new things that I didn't know. Dentist, I see it now.
Yeah,
I see it. You've got excellent teeth.
It's always been a thing, right?
I wonder what this experience is like for you, if you can put that into words.
It's really, really high highs. And I'll be honest, when I'm in this office by myself, sometimes I have those days where I'm like, oof, this is feeling real 9 to 5-ish. It's this odd dichotomy of like, I'm doing what I love and I'm experiencing this life as an artist. But then on the other side, I'm also a business owner. So I'm dealing with taxes, and I'm dealing with, collaborations and content creation, and a lot of the things that don't involve touching yarn at all. Has become a really big part of kind of running this business. So as lovely of an experience as it's been, I have to kind of bring myself back to center of like, this is something that I absolutely adore to do, but this is also my job. And sometimes I have to kind of treat it as such. So I wouldn't change it for the world. Like, I think I probably enjoy this more than I would have being a dentist. But it has its days. It has its trying days. It's in some ways a job like any other, but probably the best job I've ever had.
I completely understand with what you mean, loving yarn, playing with yarn, creating with yarn. Like that's so fun, right? There is this whole other side of the industry where it's like, well, now I got to like connect with people, and that like I have to get on the internet. I have to do the social medias. And I feel like you are delivering and understanding that aspect so well that's one of my favorite things about what you do.
Yes, I do all the things. What's so funny is like I was on a conversation with a fellow maker the other day, and she's like, I literally don't understand how you do so much. And I was like, I couldn't tell you, because I feel like, in all honesty, most of the time I'm just so deep in the work. You're just so very focused that it's like, if I took the time to try to break down what I accomplished through a day, I would make my own head spin. Like, there comes a point where you just have to kind of you make the list and you just start ticking it off. You just do it. So like, when you say like, and like, I feel it in my core, because I do feel like some days it's like, okay, we have to focus on making this video or writing this pattern or contacting this collaborator, or some days we just need to clean. Some days the room is just so you wear all the hats and you do all the things, but that motivation comes from inside, from wanting to show up for people. Because I remember being a young designer or a young crocheter, even before I even thought about designing. I was like, these are the things that I wish existed. These are the things that I envision for myself as a crocheter, the kind of resources that I would like to have. When I spent enough years wishing and hoping and praying these things existed, I was like, okay, fine, universe, I will do it. I'll just do it. And you get into it and you really start to discover the capacity that you have for creativity and for accomplishing things. And like I said, you just you follow the breadcrumbs, where are we headed next? What's going to be the next big thing that we're doing? And I think it's just a trait of me. And I give a lot of credit to my dad, because he's always been just an incredibly hard worker and just a very focused guy. And he's always said, like, if you're going to do it, give it 110%. Don't half it. Don't, play around with it. So if you're going to do something, you do it all the way. And that's never never left my mind. And I feel like I've accomplished a lot over, especially the last few years. And every time it's like, there's a bar that I set for myself. I feel like I'm constantly competing with myself. Yeah, we did that last year. What are we doing this year? It's kind of cool to have that energy. I'm just trying to like harness all of that while I can. It's fun though. It's fun experimenting and trying and doing and just letting the creativity just flow in whatever direction it wants to. Just kind of got to let it go.
There were some beautiful things in there. And I feel like you've already said this in a few different ways, but I wonder if you could tell us what makes you and your content stand out.
I think part of what makes it stand out is like I only produce when I feel that energy, that flow going in that direction. So like I give myself the grace and the space to take breaks from different parts of my business. So there's sometimes that'll be like really heavy design times. And sometimes if the ideas aren't flowing, I'm like, okay, let's put our energy into content creation. That's not working out. Let's put our energy into, managing the membership or doing something exciting over on socials, or maybe we're going to go out and travel this month or this week, and really making sure that wherever I show up, that's where my energy has led me to. Because I've tried in the past to force a design or to force a blog post or something on social media. And then I'm like, that didn't really work. I feel like people can sense and feel your energy through your output, whether that's through your words or through, your video or whatever it is. So I always want to show up as my authentic, positive, upbeat self. And if I'm just not her that day, I'm fine just taking that day off. Like I know that well enough about myself, but also about my audience and the people that I talk to. I hear a lot of people who make content and they're like, oh, like you're acting and it's kind of a fake it till you make it thing. And I'm like, no, I've never really subscribed to that. I think we have to know ourselves well enough to be like, yes, I can show up as my full self today, or no, I need to take today off and maybe I'll accomplish something else. But that takes some growth. It takes some experience to like have the bad days where you try anyway, to know like this is an especially not great day. We're just gonna, we're just gonna be quiet today and we'll come back tomorrow. But yeah, it's been kind of a roller coaster ride of like, as all of these algorithms and platforms and things change, understanding like how you can still continue to show up in this authentic way that doesn't feel like you're bending to trends or to whatever's hot that month. Because I'll be honest, like I tried TikTok for like 2 months straight. My business manager was like, you got to do it. This is the trend. This is where people at. They're getting discovered over here. Like you got to do it. And I was like, I don't know, man. She's like, just try it. If it doesn't work, we'll skip it. And I was like, fine, we'll try it. I tried it. I've never experienced burnout so quickly. I was like, girl, this is just not for me. And I have to realize that like, as much as I would love to excel over there, because I do see some of my peers doing incredibly well, it's just not for me. And I find the places that I can thrive, because you can't force it. That well of inspiration is refilled by doing the things that you love and doing the things that fill you up and light you up. And that just wasn't. And now I'm back to the things that I enjoy.
I think everything that you said really comes across.
Thank you.
What do you want people to know or understand about you and your business, your brand?
I think first and foremost, I want people to know that it's an approachable brand. I want people to see TL Yarn Crafts as this like comfortable, safe place to learn, to explore, to try things, to disagree. I want people to express every facet of their creativity in my spaces. So I want them to look at TL Yarn Crafts of like, yeah, I can come be myself here. Beyond that, as good as I've been at creating this brand identity, I feel like sometimes my personal identity can get lost in that. I feel like sometimes how I identify with like being a woman, being a Black woman business owner, a single person business owner, and like what that means and how that impacts me on a day-to-day sometimes gets lost. Because I am always very positive and upbeat. I can't separate my personal identity from my brand identity. I can't just talk about yarn all the time, because there are different areas within this community that affect me as a woman, different areas of this community that affect me as a Black person. So what I want folks to continue to understand is like, yes, I am that positive, encouraging, yarny best friend, but I'm also a Black woman coming of age continually. Even at 38, I still feel like I'm very much growing up in this environment that isn't always very supportive and isn't always kind and doesn't always see the best in me, like the people like you and others who've kind of followed my story can see. I feel like that's part of the reason I struggle sometimes with social media and with kind of engaging with new folks, because you kind of have to re-educate people on how to respect your space. The folks that have been around Teal Yarn Crafts for a long time, they never forget that. It's just part of my identity. That's what you see when you see me. But I feel like there are folks out there who want to separate their hobbies from life, and it's just not really a luxury that I have. Part of respecting me as a person and me as a brand is recognizing that dichotomy, recognizing and respecting that, and knowing that when I bring up things that are not yarn related in my own space, that I reserve the right to do that. I've created this space where I can talk about what's going on politically, what's going on as far as like race relations, or what's going on between the genders and things. One thing that I absolutely love about yarn arts and crafts in general is that we can connect on yarn first, but it's kind of an opportunity to open the door to have this larger, respectful conversation. We've now found something that we can agree on. What else can we do with this safe, positive space that we've created? Within my Facebook group and also within my membership, I've explicitly shared to folks, like, this is, of course, a space to share yarn stuff, but we are not defined by our love of yarn. We are multifaceted people, and we experience life around us, and we are now creating a safe space to have those maybe deeper and sometimes uncomfortable conversations. So I guess what I want people to know about me, to understand about Teal Yarn Crafts, we can and will continue to have respectful conversations about all aspects of ourselves, up to and of course including our love of yarn.
I think that there are very few spaces that are doing that well. And I think that your space is probably one of the best examples that I've seen of creating such a space.
Absolutely. I mean, it's something that I feel like I was missing for a really long time. And it kind of goes back to what I said earlier of like, I had these visions of like all these things that I would love to see in the yarn and the crochet space. And what I didn't see was, one, folks that looked like me, and two, folks who looked like me and engaged in the same hobbies as me, but also were comfortable talking about politics, and were comfortable talking about money, talking about business, talking about families and these other really sensitive topics. But I'm like, what better way to have these conversations than with people that you like and trust already? Because I mean, inherently, when I see someone crocheting, I'm like, that's my people. So I should be able to, you know, have those conversations. Now, I definitely recognize that some folks have their boundaries and they go on socials to just kind of engage in, you know, their hobbies. But I think there is space, and there should be space for that intersection between like our hobbies and some of the other like social or justice related conversations that need to be had.
I think that you're doing such a great job of showing an example of that working really well and positively. All right, so I'm going to switch it up just a little bit. I love asking silly questions just to kind of, you know, break up these kind of interviews. So rapid fire a little bit. Which do you like best, crochet or Tunisian crochet?
I'm going to have to say traditional crochet is my favorite, but Tunisian crochet is like a half step behind, but probably mainly regular crochet for sure.
I was going to bet on that, but I wasn't sure. Dogs or cats?
Cats, still cats. I have a dog now for the first time in life, and I adore him. He's my sweet pie. I'm glad he can't understand me because he'd be really jealous, but
he can't hear you right now. You can speak your truth. That's fine.
I've always been a cat person, like since I was a kid. My first cat I got when I was like 6 or 7, and I named him Rodney. He lived outside and he ate moths. Like, we were Southern kids, like running around in the field barefoot. So that was my cat. He came back every night. So I was like, that's my Rodney. That's my guy. So always cats. Always a cat person.
Do you have a favorite ice cream flavor?
Ooh, coffee ice cream. Yeah. There's one that I had, it was like a coffee base, and it had like these little like chocolate, not chocolate chips, almost like these little chocolate shards.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I could eat that with breakfast.
Like one of my husband's favorites. He loves that. But he can like, you know, eat a whole pint of coffee ice cream with the caffeine and go right to sleep. So
same. Yeah. I often will have a cup of coffee to help me sleep. I just need to be warm on the inside. It's weird. I know.
I don't understand that at all. If I have a drop of caffeine after like 1:30, I'm not going to bed that night. That's it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't know. It's more about the flavor than the effect for me anymore.
After yarn hobbies, of course, what are some other things that you really love?
I love to read. I love books. I devour books. Trying to get into a bit more nonfiction, but I mean, there's just so many great stories out there that I adore. I also am starting to get more into traveling. Really enjoy just kind of like having a change of scenery every now and then. It really kind of builds up that inspiration. I feel like every time I go out of town, I come back with all of these really fun and exciting ideas. And then outside of that, you know what? I'm starting to realize I really like naps. I really can that be a hobby? Is that
100%. I actually, like, as a fully grown adult woman, I feel like I really appreciate like the kindergarten schedule, you know?
oh
You
my
get a little snack and then you lay down, you take a nap for like 20 minutes.
God. Like when did we collectively decide adults didn't need that? Like I
I'm
feel
bringing
like we
it back.
need to reinstitute this back into culture.
Yeah,
Like
seriously, I love coloring. I love applesauce. Like I
I love
of it.
singing songs and watching movies in the middle of the day. Like kids got it sorted out, man. Don't rush
Yeah.
to grow up, I tell you.
I don't know why we gave it up, but I'm taking it all back. Is there anything really exciting that you're watching or listening to or reading right now?
Oh, I just wrapped up Abbott Elementary.
That's on
And
my radar. I gotta watch that.
well, I will not spoil it for you, but
Okay.
I will say this. There is a simmering love story throughout all of the seasons that just came to a very exciting point with the most recent season finale. Once you get into it, like it's definitely one of those shows. Like I don't even crochet when I watch it. Like you don't want to miss anything. You have to
it's
see
that
like
good.
so much nonverbal communication that is underlying in the stories of Abbott Elementary. Like you have to have the context. And it's one of the things that I appreciate about it, because even though it's a comedy, and I feel like people almost have a lower bar for comedy, Abbott keeps that bar high. Not only is it hilarious, but it touches on like a lot of just dynamics of life and what it's like trying to run a school in an inner city. But then you've also got this entire like set of teachers and administrators and stuff and everything that happens on these higher levels of education. It's a really interesting look at what it's like to run a school, but then you also get like these personal insights on like these characters that you really come to care about. So absolutely adore that. And I'm almost sad that it's over. But then of course I got to start Bridgerton after that. I'm jumped into it. Yeah, it sucked me in. It's so corny, but it's so well done. It's incredibly well done, because it's not, well, let me not lie, because I love Downton Abbey as well. Like the sets are gorgeous. The clothing is gorgeous. What I like about Bridgerton is you've got this more diverse cast, which, you know, maybe not historically accurate, but way more fun to watch. That's kind of what I'm into right now. Just kind of like the fun stuff that I can watch while I'm crocheting.
I determined that my focus in my business specifically was to assure that crochet is passed through the generations in better hands than we found it. You know, when I jump out of bed every day and I'm wondering what am I going to do in my business, it always has to align with that. Sure. Do you have like a driving statement kind of like that or concept?
Not as clean and beautiful of a statement as you have. I probably need to think it through.
Oh, I did the workshop, lady. That's
I need that. I need the name of that workshop. My driving force and kind of what keeps me motivated is making sure that beginners feel encouraged, empowered, excited from day one. I remember when I got back into crochet as an adult, I struggled a lot, because when I got back into it, like I only knew a handful of stitches. I didn't know a ton about the tools or the yarn or the projects, where to find things. So it was a lot of exploration, you know, which I'm glad that I did, because it taught me how to just, you know, be a little bit more self-sufficient as somebody who can now create content, who can teach beginners. I want that first experience with me to be like, wow, I have come out of this having learned something. I feel like I learned it in a way that makes sense to me. This is going to stick with me. One experience I'll never forget is when I was getting back into crochet. I was like, oh, I took the books from the library and I'm looking at stuff online, but I know that there is nothing like an in-person teaching experience. So it's like, I'm going to sign up for this class at one of my local yarn stores. Signed up for this class, got all my materials, did my homework. I show up, I'm raring to go. Like I love school, always have. So I was really looking forward to this. And I did not have a great experience. I had never met this teacher before, and she seemed like very knowledgeable and everything, but she didn't seem to have the patience that's necessary when you're teaching beginners, especially beginner adults, because I'm sure I'm no exception. I walked in there like, oh, I'm smart and I've done this before. I'll pick this right up. And then when I didn't, my frustration set in and I'm like, struggling, and she didn't respond to that especially well, and that was a really tough experience for me because I'm like, I definitely recognize how I was unprepared for this class, but I didn't walk out of there feeling supported, feeling encouraged, feeling like this is something I could actually do. And I'd actually considered not crocheting after that class. I was like, maybe this just isn't for me. But then I went home and I kind of looked at some of the projects that I had been practicing with, and I'm like, you know what, I know I can get this. And I just kind of kept chugging along from there. But part of my why is trying to make sure that nobody gets to that point where they're second guessing their ability to do this, because personally, I believe crochet isn't a talent, it is a skill. Anyone can learn a skill. We just have to have the right resources to learn them. So it is my goal to create those resources so people feel confident in learning this skill.
I hope you write that down somewhere, because that was it's going to be in the transcript. That's really well put.
Well, I'm sure you feel the same way too. I mean, you teach as well. You know what it's like to have to take a concept which makes complete sense to you, because I mean, now that I've been teaching for so long, right, there's just some stuff that's implied for me. So when I think about teaching a beginner, I'm like, okay, what am I overlooking that they need to know to be able to get here? What levels do I now have the luxury of skipping that they don't? So like being able to break things down and like literally taking it step by step with the assumption of like, there's somebody watching this who's never seen this before. What do they need to know to get to that next level? So like, I mean, as teachers, as designers, people who write down instructions in the hopes that people can follow them, you know, I'm sure you feel that as well, of like, okay, how can I say this in a way where it clicks for them almost like seamlessly? Like, I don't even want you to have a whiff of frustration through this process.
Exactly. I do think about things that way. Whatever I'm presenting, I want anyone to be able to go, okay, that makes perfect sense.
Yes. Yep.
So you were at H&H this year, and you were on it's like state of the industry panel. I listened to the whole thing. It was over an hour. I remembered every single thing that you said, and everything that you said was so insightful about your perception of the state of the industry, but also the questions about where the industry should go. It reminded me, just hearing you in that panel discussion, that I often see myself as like the leader of the learners, you know, in my own platforms. And I saw you in that way. It made me think, I want to know what Toni has to say. And I was just wondering if you, like, how do you see yourself? That's how I see you, but how do you see yourself?
I take a lot of this very seriously, right? So I always keep my eyes open of like who all the players are in the industry, what we're doing to kind of move things forward, or, you know, sometimes not move things forward, how we're supporting each other. And while I do feel like I'm a leader in this industry because I've been around a long time and I'm always running my mouth, I feel like I'm also a listener, and that's how I can communicate what I feel is the state of the industry, because I'm listening to and watching what brands and larger companies are doing. I'm listening to and watching what my peers, who are also, you know, teachers, educators, writers, designers, are doing. And then I'm also looking at like what my customers and my audience and my consumers are doing and engaging with and looking for and interested in, and where the gaps in their learning or experience. I'm kind of putting this all together in this ball of like, how can we improve the experience for all of us? And one of the things that I commented on there at H&H is I feel like, you know, we've got this massive industry with all of these really great brands that I think have an amazing opportunity to leave their mark in a positive way on our community. But I feel like we're starting to forget about the people, that there are people behind the things that we buy and the content we engage with and the places that we go, like the events that we frequent. As a business owner, I definitely recognize and appreciate that there is a great living that you can make from engaging in this community, but you're only going to get so far if you're only focused on the business side of it, because this niche is incredibly community focused and community driven. And we have to make sure we are supporting and providing for that community ahead of how we're padding our pocket. So as somebody who reviews yarns or gadgets or goes to events, in a lot of the sense of the word, I am an influencer in that I try all these things and I say my opinion and occasionally encourage people to buy or engage with things. But I feel an immense responsibility to make sure that I don't use that influence for like these purely personal gains. I do that on purpose to try to set the example of like, we can do collaborations and engage with brands and bring our customer and that brand closer together. But we have to do it in this ethical way, because everything isn't for everybody. Every product is not good, even if they are cutting a nice check. Like I'm never going to say, yes, go buy this thing if I don't believe in it. I think a lot of that responsibility falls on folks like us, but also on these companies to be very mindful of how they engage with our community and how they can be supportive beyond just selling products. I just don't want that to get lost in this effort of, you know, just having a great brand or having a good company.
I think all of that came across so beautifully also in the panel discussion. Like I just really felt like, man, okay, Toni really, she understands the industry. She understands what's valuable to people. And I think that when you listen and you're listening to what is valuable to people, then and I feel like you are perceptive in terms of like, okay, how do I translate what people need and, you know, give them that value that they're either looking for or not, but that's going to add value to their lives.
Yes, I run this brand, and Teal Yarn Crafts is like, I feel like it's just part of my identity at this point, but I'm also just an avid voracious crocheter. Like I am a crafter, I am a maker. So I look at it through that lens of like, okay, what is getting me excited? What's lighting me up? What's new? What's happening? Like what's the deal? I think it's important to appreciate this as a hobby so that I can then translate that to my audience, because I feel like they are me. You know, I feel like in a lot of ways I'm talking to myself, or I'm talking to my best friend who's a crocheter, or my mom who's a crocheter. And I'm like, hey, I just came across this thing. I'm so excited about it. Like I had to tell you about this. So that's the energy that I want to share, but that has to come from a genuine and positive place always.
It definitely comes across that way, 100%. So you have got a massively impressive following on YouTube and on Instagram. I personally find YouTube more enjoyable than Instagram. I don't think I've been on Instagram in like 8 years now.
Really?
Yeah, I gave it up. It made me sad and I gave it up.
Fair.
That's my opinion on the two. Do you have an opinion on the two? Do you like one more than the other?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I definitely am partial to YouTube as a creator and also as a consumer. I think YouTube and the ability to do longer form content allows you to have a full conversation. Whereas I feel like platforms like Instagram and other social media are to have like these snippets of conversation, which is not necessarily and not always very fulfilling. I'm sure you can remember this. I mean, we were on Instagram in its heyday, man, when it was all about community, when it didn't have all of these extra bells and whistles. It was literally just, here's what I'm doing today. Here's a photograph and a caption. Let's talk about it. I just thrived there. I enjoyed it so much. And that was when content creation, I felt like, was very low lift, because all you had to do was share what you were excited about that day. So I've watched Instagram especially change in ways that just don't really speak to me like it used to. I still exist there and I still post regularly. It's definitely important to my business and my brand. And also a lot of my friends are on Instagram. So I feel like I can never leave. But when it comes to like what I actually enjoy, YouTube for sure. Like, I feel like I can teach there. I can, you know, talk to my friends there. I can, you know, have these casual conversations. I can bring my mom into that space. Like we just started doing some content together, which has been so fun. And I feel like it wouldn't have the same impact on Instagram. So, I mean, it's hands down YouTube over Instagram, but Instagram is just, it's enmeshed in my brand and in my life at this point. What I've done though, to just kind of make it more of an enjoyable space, is I have started folding in some of my more like personal and life-based stuff. So like I just had a birthday celebration and I had an entire post that was just about celebrating my birthday, not a stitch of yarn involved. So being able to share a bit more about what's going on with me personally in that space has been nice. Whereas YouTube is really just focused on kind of like the yarn and the engagement around Teal Yarn Crafts.
But you have recently started a new community membership just for your audience. Can you tell us what it is, who it's for, and why people should check it out?
Sure. So it's called the Yarn Hive community, and it is kind of fashioned around this idea of this engaged, focused, like interconnected set of bees. We've got this mission of like just loving on crochet in whatever way we feel like it. And we use that space to really let that excitement and that positivity and that encouragement just flow. I started it in January of this year. We did kind of a quick little beta with just a few of the members from my Facebook group. And it was really amazing kind of building that space alongside my Facebook group, because they know the culture of TL Yarn Crafts. They know my brand. They know kind of who I am and how I work and what a membership from TL Yarn Crafts would look like. So I was able to work side by side with the exact people who are going to be in the membership to be like, this is what we want this to look like. I had a vision, of course, but when you listen to people, the people that you trust and the people that you want around you, like everybody's got great ideas. I'm not the only one with great ideas in the room. I don't even think I have the greatest ideas in the room. So I'm looking for those folks who can kind of give me their 2 cents as well. So we built it into this like space that I just absolutely enjoy being in. It is such a pleasure. So then we opened it up to the public in April of this year after the beta was done. And it still continues to grow and evolve. So kind of how it's set up is there's these 2 main spaces. So there's this video library. So it's got pretty much everything from my YouTube channel, but there's also additional tutorials from my free and paid patterns. And there's additional tutorials and content that goes up every month. So we have a speaker series and we put those recordings there. All of our speakers create some additional exclusive content and that goes up in that space. So there's just a lot to see and experience. And if you're somebody who likes to learn from video, watch vlogs and podcasts, it's a great place to go. I think at this point we have well over like 1,000 hours of content in that space after just a few months. And then, so that's the video space. And we've got a lot of people that just engaged there. But if you want to dive a little bit deeper, we have a community space. And it's kind of set up like a Discord or a Slack where you have these different channels with different conversations. So we've got a channel for show and tell. So you come show your whips or like your latest yarn acquisitions. We've got a Tunisian crochet chat, of course. So you can come talk about your Tunisian crochet journey. We've got one for temperature blankets, obviously, because I can't get enough. So I know there are a lot of people in my space who are making temperature blankets as well. And we're constantly adding additional channels for people to come have all these different conversations. So whatever your crochet flavor is, there is a space for you to have that conversation there. And then we also have like just random activities. We do a live stream every Monday, which is more like a, beginning of the week check-in. We're talking about our whips and kind of what we have going on. We have a 24/7 Discord channel where people can just kind of pop in and talk to each other, encourage each other through their projects. I recently went into the Discord because I was like trying to crank out the last few rows of this blanket. And like, you ever just not have the motivation to finish a project?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we created this space where like your camera's on and whoever wants to drop in can. And I think there were maybe like 4 or 5 of us in there. And we were just like chit chat. And then the rows just flowed. What I couldn't do for the last 3 days straight, I got done in about 45 minutes. We do a lot of crochet alongs as well. So we had Make It Cow, which is a crochet along I do every year, but we did like an exclusive version of that inside the Yarn Hive. We also have a crochet along coming up that is only hosted inside the Yarn Hive. It's called the Hexagranny Cow. Like those hexagon cardigans?
Yeah,
we're going to make one of those because there are a lot of people in the Hive, and I think in general when it comes to crochet, who are just terrified to make garments, really, really intimidated by that process. And I want to show folks like there are certain garments that are just really, really easy. Like anybody can make them. And I think the hexagon cardigans are one of a great example of that. So we're going to have that crochet along exclusively inside the Yarn Hive. So people are going to get a free copy of that PDF pattern. They're going to get a full walkthrough and a tutorial video. I'll be making one as well. And we have a crochet along channel dedicated inside the Yarn Hive. So as people are working on their projects, they can come to that space and kind of talk about what's going good, what's not going good, what changes they're making, what yarns they're using, like all the exciting conversations around crochet. So it kind of feels like this virtual summer camp of like all the best crochet stuff. And it's a really, really great time. My audience just continues to amaze and surprise me just every freaking day. It's been a learning experience because it is a ton of work, but it's something that I'm finding more and more enjoyment in because you've kind of got this space where people have opted in, like they're invested in this going well, as am I. So I feel like we're all kind of working for the same mission. And that's what really makes it like this positive and encouraging space to be in. Absolutely love it. So, and anybody can join. We have just a few rules, most of which surround like being nice and kind and respectful. If you can get with that, you can come hang with us. We always got space at the table.
It sounds like it's just, if you love crochet and you're searching for community, this sounds like a really, really awesome place to be.
100%. Yeah. And what I'm finding is like, I produce a lot of content there, but there are folks that are joining the space that aren't necessarily joining it because they're super fans of TL Yarn Crafts. They're joining it because they're looking for, a community of people who know, love, and appreciate crochet on the same level that they do, which is sometimes a little hard to find those spaces where like crochet is 100% appreciated and encouraged. There are some days where like I can't jump into the community maybe for like a couple days, and then when I go back in, I'm just scrolling through and I'm just grinning ear to ear because I'm like, oh, you guys are having all the conversations I've always wanted to have. Like it's been really fun, and I think I'm learning it, and it's morphing and changing day by day, but it's been a good time. It's been a good time.
It sounds like a fantastic community experience.
Thank you. And when you sign up, you do get a 7-day trial. So even if you just want to come kick the tires for a while, we strongly encourage it. Come in, watch some videos, download some patterns, go have some conversations. It's a good time.
I love that. What is next for Toni TL Yarn Craft? What are you looking forward to?
So the next kind of big thing that's happening is we'll be doing our 4th annual Crochet Academy coming up in August. So Crochet Academy is this learn to crochet event that I run every year. So there's 3 weeks of instruction, kind of taking you from the very beginnings of crochet, understanding tools and yarn and how to crochet, and then taking you through a lot of the fundamentals. So color changes, stitch patterns, finishing techniques, diving deeper into the tools and understanding the difference from them and finding the best tool for you. So it's really kind of this crash course in like the basics of crochet to help people find their passion in it. Once you know how to crochet, do you want to do garments? Do you want to do amigurumi? Do you want to do Tunisian crochet or mosaic, or like, what are you into? So then after we kind of do that 3-week course, there's then a 4-week crochet along. So there's going to be 4 brand new designs, each of which is going to be free with tutorial videos and patterns available. And so over that 4 weeks, it's a chance for, newbie crocheters and also people more seasoned to just kind of crochet along together, try some new patterns and some new techniques, and create some pieces that they love. So that'll be coming up in August, partnering with Lion Brand for that one. So there will be kits available, but otherwise all of the resources will be available between YouTube and my blog.
Thank you so much for spending time to chat with me today. Thanks for sharing more about who you are and what you do, and you're making the crochet world a better place, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. Those words are going straight into my heart. I'll hold on to them. Thank you so much. That's really, really sweet. Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right. Well, peace. I'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.